Thank you. Please, no, please, for the love of God, stop. You're too kind. And welcome to the Seventh Heaven Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Myers. You can follow me on Twitter at Seventh Heaven, Instagram at Seventh Heaven Pod. You can listen on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Rumble, all the good stuff. It's good to be back. I hope you all enjoyed your weekend. I know I did. I watched Ole Miss beat Texas A&M. That felt good. I watched the Buccaneers lose to the Washington football team. Not so good. But other than that, I am good. And that's the important thing, is that I'm good. How are you? Don't tell me. I don't care. I wrote a joke, another joke, and this one is sure to have you in stitches. I'm tired of these mandates. I don't like it. I don't like the government telling me what I can and cannot do. I don't like vaccine mandates. I don't like the mask mandates. The only mandate I support is two fellas getting a cup of coffee together. Thank you. These are the high quality jokes you get when you listen to me. Here's the thing about a mandate. I think more guys should do it. I think more men should go on dates with each other. Not, platonically. Go out, get a cup of coffee, go home, suck each other off. There's nothing wrong with a couple of fellas having a mandate. And I think we need to encourage that. I have a great article I'd like to read for you. It's from Vox, V-O-X, Vox, not Fox, Vox. Sort of the polar opposite of Fox. Like, if Fox is for your boomer conservative grandparents, then Vox is for your retarded millennial friend. Two sides of the same coin in a way, Except the thing is, this everybody gives shit to Fox News, and fair enough. But the thing about Fox is that it's not like people don't watch Fox and they're like, oh yeah, I watch Fox. I'm an intellectual. Like, people will read Vox and they're like, oh yeah, I read Vox. I like their explainers. Ugh. Like, people who watch Fox are like, Brett Baier is a cuck who betrayed the president of the United States of America, who is Donald Trump. Like, they're not intellectual types. They're not trying to assure you that they're intelligent. Vox is their entire angle is to make readers feel like they're smart for reading them. Like, aha, you know what's up. And it's like, well, none of you know what's up. So they have this is their tweet. It's from Jamil Smith. Let me see. Senior correspondent of Vox.com. He used to write for Rolling Stone, New Republic, MSNBC, and NFL Films. Yikes. Wondering why the NFL has gone to shit. Well, his name's Jamil Smith, and he wrote this article, and the image, I love this because LeBron James responded to this, and it's Kyle Rittenhouse. If you guys have been following, I'm obsessed with this case. So Kyle Rittenhouse took the stand and was explaining what happened and has a panic attack on stage or on the witness stand. I don't know if you guys have watched it. I'm not going to play it because it makes me sick. This is very clearly an incident of somebody having a panic attack. By the way, that doesn't make him innocent. That doesn't showing it's showing that what he went through was traumatic. I happen to think he's innocent because self-defense is a fundamental right in a free society, assuming we still are. So he is, you can see it like in his eyes because he's, not to do the whole body language thing, but, he's kind of looking back as he's trying to recount this, and you could see the fear building. This is, I think, any realistic expert on the subject would go, this guy has PTSD, and he's having a panic attack on the witness stand. That loser LeBron James, who has to buy all of his rings and will never be as good as Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant for that matter, because he's a colossal pussy. Unrelated though. He said it was crocodile tears. And I think that's hilarious because he's a fucking flop artist if there's ever been one in the NBA. So Vox uses the same image of Rittenhouse breaking down on the stand, which again, they're doing this to mock this kid. I cannot imagine them doing that to any of the ladies recounting their casting couch experience with Harvey Weinstein, even if they were consensual, which a number of them were. So again, this is it's interesting that they use the mockery of this kid crying. And so their title on the tweet says, whether or not we believe Kyle Rittenhouse's emotional display on the stand may be irrelevant, read Jamil Smith on the enduring power and privilege of white tears, particularly in a courtroom. It doesn't matter if he's innocent, and it doesn't matter if its emotional display is real. It's still privilege. Let's give it a read, guys. By the way, this thing has been ratioed. It's got 530 replies, only 39 retweets, 114 likes. Jamil Smith has like 300,000 followers. Vox has 1 million followers, and they have 39 retweets. They have 39 retweets. There are anonymous accounts on Twitter that get more interaction than this legacy media bullshit. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So the article, again, okay, we got the header, and it's full-blown 3 images of him breaking down in tears. What an asshole. And it's titled, Kyle Rittenhouse's Tears. The 18-year-old who shot 3 men at a protest, by the way, a riot. This is a riot. I don't know, like, does protest generally involve breaking windows of cars and businesses? Is that like is that a standard? I don't go to protests because I have better things to do with my life. But people who protest, I've seen many. That was sort of the brag at the Me Too movement was they'd pick up all the trash after. There was no violence. There was none of that. By the way, same thing with the Tea Party. You didn't hear about it though. But why is it that, like, if you've watched any 1 millisecond of a Kyle Rittenhouse video, you would not call this a protest. So I already know this person is lying. The 18-year-old who shot 3 men at a protest, at a riot, one of which had a gun and was chasing him, the other of which assaulted him with a fucking skateboard. So what protest is that? Was Tony Hawk there? Because he would at least ride the board. He wouldn't be fucking swinging it. Makes no sense. The 18-year-old who shot 3 men at a protest took the stand and resorted to a tried and true strategy for white men in trouble. Ah, yes, everyone knows how men are always crying. You know the old stereotype of white men crying. He goes to say, what Kyle Rittenhouse displayed in a Kenosha, Wisconsin courtroom this week as he testified in his homicide trial was what folks like to call an ugly cry. Okay. Okay. Charged in the killings of 2 men and injury of another amid days of racial justice protests last summer. Again, this was over a motherfucker that had a knife and all that. Like, this was over a complete lie. This was like, if you're going to burn a city down, the motherfucker they were burning this down for is not for that. Which is why I wonder, I'd be curious if this guy goes on to mention the actual person that was at the center of those protests. Charged in the killings of 2 men and injury of another amid days of racial justice protests last summer, the defendant started to falter on the stand as he described that fateful night last August. Oh, it was so fateful. They're always so dramatic. When the then 17-year-old was armed with a rifle, patrolling the streets of a town that was not his own. Well, his dad fucking lived there, so I don't know what that means. By the way, Trayvon Martin was in his dad's neighborhood when he died, and nobody said, well, you don't belong here. You're just a visitor. You had to cross state lines. Rittenhouse's eyes shut almost completely, save for an occasional glance to his left in the direction of the jury. Oh my God. This is like, these are the people who were too shitty to write fiction. Like, because here's the thing. It's like, oh, and then he glanced at the jury. Okay, thank you for assigning intent. You're inventing. This is a person. We can all watch the same fucking video, loser. They rely on you to not watch it. This is the entire game is do not watch the video. You must take my version of it, my interpretation of it. His eyes shut almost completely, save for an occasional glance to his left in the direction of the jury. By the way, there's 2 images in their own fucking article. One of them he looks to the left, one of them he looks to the right. Do you not like the only times he opened his eyes was to look in the jury? Fucking idiot. Then came the sobbing, which kept the rest of his response to his attorney's questioning about the evening from escaping his quivering lips. Jesus Christ. I think this guy wants to fuck Kyle Rittenhouse. Talking about his quivering lips, his glances. This is a guy who wants to skull fuck Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm sorry, Kyle. This guy's just, he's really into you. Rittenhouse's blubbering was the headline of the day after the defendant offered his much-awaited testimony in the case Wednesday, recalling the night he shot Joseph Rosenbaum, a pedophile. Sorry, he didn't put that in the article, but Rosenbaum was a pedophile, and Anthony Huber to death and, quote, vaporized much of the bicep of medic Gage Grosskreutz. Grosskreutz. What a dumb fucking name. According to Grosskreutz's testimony. Rittenhouse wasn't weeping with regret. He was claiming self-defense and recounting how he felt his life was in danger. Yes, that is what you would call PTSD. This is a classic case of PTSD. These are the same fucking losers who think that every crackhead on the streets of Los Angeles just needs a house. So they're all about empathy until suddenly there is no empathy. What does that say about empathy? Is a characteristic that you should carry through your entire life. If you are an empathetic person or claim to be, this is something you should see the empathy in every situation. You should feel bad for Alec Baldwin. You should feel bad for the person he shot, her kids. You should feel bad for Kyle Rittenhouse. You should feel bad for the people who got caught up in this. You should feel bad. Like if you're an empathetic person, you don't suddenly go, well, no, this person deserves, this is not real. It's not a real mourning. They're not allowed to feel this way. Yeah, fuck you. The trial and pretrial proceedings had already sparked a national outcry after Judge Bruce Schroeder decided last month that prosecutors may not refer to Rosenbaum, Huber, and Grosskreutz as victims. Well, yeah, because Grosskreutz might go to jail. Like, these are guys, these are fucking criminals. He says, and that the defense attorneys could call them looters or arsonists. Those are accurate descriptions. Now, with his tears, Rittenhouse has cast himself as the lone victim in his own homicide trial. It is that's a very... Are people not allowed to defend themselves in a court of law? This is what you're saying to me, is that a person is not allowed to defend themselves when they're on the stand, when their life is in the hands of a prosecutor. This used to be something the left cared about, like 2 summers ago. But when it's a white kid, just like the fucking Covington kids, and just like everybody else, you can assign a motive to it, and you say, no justice for you. You have 17. Here's the funny thing. He's 17 years old. Whatever you think about him having a rifle, being out there, fuck, I don't care. I don't fucking care. It's irrelevant. But if you're all mad about the fucking racism in this society, why are you always taking it out on kids? What do the Covington kids have to do with it? What does Kyle Rittenhouse have to do with this? Your beef should be with Joe fucking Biden and Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi and all the old white fucks who've been in charge forever. But it's never about them. It is never about them. When he wasn't crying, Rittenhouse explained why he had traveled the roughly 20 miles from Illinois. I don't understand why they're so obsessed with this. 20 miles is 20 minutes. Motherfucker, if you're going over 60, you could be there in 15. Earlier that night, he allegedly offered condolences to a business owner for car. I love how he puts that in quotes. He offered condolences, the scare quotes. Does no one know how to use scare quotes? Earlier that day, he allegedly offered condolences to a business owner for cars that were set afire the previous night. And he said that he and his friend agreed to help provide armed protection for the business that night. The defendant also testified that he gave a bulletproof vest in his possession, issued by Grays Lake, Illinois Police Department's Explorer program for young people interested in law enforcement careers, to a friend, saying he felt he wouldn't need it because he recalled in the courtroom, "I'm going to be helping people." The Illinois teenager faces 2 counts of first-degree homicide. By the way, I love how he doesn't actually do anything to debunk that. He just reads it like, oh, let me throw some scare quotes and make it like, oh, yeah, you're just going to help people. Oh, LOL, yeah, right. Yeah, this is what lazy fucking morons do, and they pass off as intellectuals. We are not led by our best. This is the best argument against elitism, is when you realize how fucking stupid the elites are. Right here. The Illinois teenager faces 2 counts of a first-degree homicide and 1 of attempted homicide, along with other 3 charges in the shooting of the August 25th, 2020. Just a couple of nights after Kenosha officer shot black motorist Jacob Blake 7 times in the back in front of 3 of his children. Let's see what Jacob Blake was arrested for, shot for. Shot him in the back. I love when they say they shoot him in the back. Like that somehow has to do anything. So he had been tasered before that encounter, but he would not go down. That's always interesting. If you get tased and then you keep fighting, that's an odd choice. Basically, he had a knife, and he turned towards the cop who shot him. And there's I'm on the Wikipedia one. I'll actually have to find a real article that breaks down fuck Wikipedia. Suck my dick. The worst fucking propaganda in here. Fuck off, Microsoft Edge. They always got these pop-ups trying to get me to donate. Fuck out of here. Why would I ever donate to you? Ever. So it's funny. He shot black motorist Jacob Blake 7 times in the back in front of 3 of his children. Jacob Blake had a knife and was going for the cop. So I don't know what this whole let's just gloss over what he did. This is what they do. George Floyd was just passing a counterfeit bill. Who among us? The killings of the demonstrators caused a national, again, the demonstrators. They're not demonstrators. They're rioters. I know people who protest that Black Lives Matter. They were not busting up fucking windows. They were not saying, kill me, motherfucker. They were not chasing people down. They went out there, they had their fucking sign, they took their pictures, and they posted it on Instagram. I did not see a brick go through a fucking window. The killings of the demonstrators caused a national shockwave last summer, highlighting the powder keg of emotion surrounding arrests, clashes, and tense exchanges as tens of millions of Americans took to the street and protested racial justice. By the way, that was during quarantine, motherfucks. So don't tell me you give a shit about COVID when you were actively rooting for these people to go out and burn down the fucking country. The debate this week has centered on whether defendant's spectacle was authentic. Okay. Whether or not the crime was real, it was a performance, and it had an audience. What does this say about this person? The person writing this? Like, honest to God, what does that say about this person? Like many white men accused of violent crimes and misconduct before him, he's a boy. He was 17. Calling him a white. It's funny. Really fast and loose with terms when it works to their advantage. Isn't that interesting? Pay attention to the language, people. Always follow the language. Rittenhouse appealed with his tears not merely to 12 fellow citizens who will decide his fate, but also to certain white members of the American public who too often see emotion like that and imagine only the faces of their son, not any born to mothers who look like mine. Oh, I love this. Is like Obama going, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. Your son, if you had a son who looked like Trayvon, my friend, he would not be getting stoned and buying fucking iced tea at a gas station in the middle of the night. You would be in some fucking Skulls and Bones club where they're fucking teaching you on how to rule the world. Okay? And this is the argument. They look like... this is such a childlike view of the world. Mothers who look like mine. Oh, so again, he can talk about how the white people, this is how you see it, but you don't get it because you don't see it like me. Well, I'm glad that white people all think the same to you, you fucking loser, you racist piece of shit. There is evidence that Rittenhouse conspicuously aligned himself with the Blue Lives Matter crowd, so it's worth considering his sobbing within the context of the toxic and limited view of manhood that remains so popular in America, particularly among the modern political right. What? It's toxic? Men, if we're going on the whole, toxic masculinity, part of that is men never cry. You suppress your feelings. This is completely fucking up your whole argument. This is what I mean. They play fast and loose with terms, and then they go, oh, well, this is this is part of the toxic limited view of man. Limited. It's a limited view. Our version of manhood includes women, so you need to be more unlimited than us. Some compared Rittenhouse to Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's reaction when questioned during his confirmation hearing about Christine Blasey's for credible allegations of sexual assault. She never met the guy. Christine Blasey Ford could not verify she had ever been in a room with Brett Kavanaugh. She lied under oath about this man claiming that she was gang raped by him. Her own father said that he thought she was doing it for political reasons. There was nothing credible about the allegations of sexual assault. Not one fucking lick of it. But this loser gets to go credible because I've decided it's credible. Thus, Kavanaugh's guilty. Kavanaugh cries. Rittenhouse cries. You know how white people be. This is racism. This is nothing short of racism. I don't understand. This is why we have to stop fucking going along with it. When people start doing this fucking wordplay and shit. Oh, you know how those white people are always crying when they're accused? That means they're guilty. Okay, so when a black man cries on the stand, I gotta go, oh, well, you know, there's a history of that. You know what they say about black tears? No, that would be insane. That would be objectively insane and racist. Wednesday's display from Rittenhouse bore some similarities to Kavanaugh's sanctimonious anger, which often dotted with cracks in his voice. Oh, my God. As I wrote at the time, the future Supreme Court justice took advantage of the leeway that his gender and privilege affords him, and Rittenhouse did the same. Okay. I think this guy wants to bang Brett Kavanaugh, too. Is it a particular privilege to be considered a boy after you become an adult and when you've made decision like Rittenhouse is? You think that like a 17-year-old black kid is not tried as a child as well? I don't understand the logic. Well, he did this, so now we get to treat him like an adult. In Rittenhouse's case, he was generously characterized by the New York Times as someone who, quote, has idolized law enforcement since he was young. I don't know how that's generous. And went to Kenosha, quote, with at least one mission to play the role of police officer and medic. Okay. I don't know if that's like, why is that generous? Like, if you think that's a generous characterization, you're a fucking moron. Actually, well, you're an ideologue, which is worse, which is far worse. And you're a fucking enemy of the people, corporate press hack who's never had a real job. The prosecution noted a number of his lies Wednesday, including false claims of the press about being an EMT. Okay. This is a whole party that says that you can fucking identify as a man with a vagina, or you could have a penis and identify as a woman, and that's fine. Rittenhouse was identifying as an EMT that night. Fuck off. Part of the discomfort as we watched him emote, there was no discomfort for me, except that I saw a person with pain. That's it. But here we go. Part of the discomfort as we watched him emote, to say nothing of the suspicion, maybe that we're generally unfamiliar with seeing boys and men exhibit emotion in such a public way. Vulnerability and common conceptions of manhood, especially among conservatives, have not traditionally been bedfellows. Okay. However, so ignore my theory that we have been promoting for the past how many years that men are basically women. Ignore all that. However, Rittenhouse's emotion on the stand should be indictment of his behavior, not an excuse for it. What? By law, he was too young to have the weapon he used to kill. That's not true. That is not true. 17-year-olds are allowed to own rifles, long rifles. He possessed a long rifle. He had the right to have that gun. This is why the left wins, is because they lie about what they say, and people who don't know fucking any better go, he's not allowed to have the gun. Duh. But 16-year-olds should be allowed to vote. He told the court that the reason he picked the AR-15 style rifle as opposed to handgun is, quote, he thought, quote, it looked cool. Well, they do. They fucking look cool. And if you don't think they look cool, you're a pussy. Legal experts I spoke with judged Rittenhouse's testimony to be a positive for him because the defense must have it both ways. While admitting to the facts of the shooting, they must show that Rittenhouse was the good guy that night and that he feared for his life. Well, you can watch the fucking video. If Rittenhouse provoked the conflict in shooting with his actions, he has no credible claim to self-defense. Well, did you watch the video? Okay, never mind. But if he convinced the jury that, as he told the court, it was either him or them, perhaps he created a self-sufficient reasonable doubt. Time will tell. That's self-defense. It's either me or you. When you push me in a corner and I have no choice, that I have to take an action to defend my own life, and it may take yours. That is it. I like how they act like this is not part of the deal, but this is the fucking deal. And if you watch the video, it's clearly either him. I don't know why people think it's okay to swing a skateboard at someone's fucking head. Why don't we give it a try? Let's give it a try. Go over, hang out with all these fucking journalists, start swinging a skateboard at their head. See what happens. Do you think that they're going to fight back? Do you think they're going to take it? My suspicion is that they'll defend themselves and they would be within their rights. But this loser, they act like this is just nothing. Like this is just a nothing part of this. Yes, this is a self-defense trial. You can call it a homicide trial. This is self-defense. Self-defense. American jurisprudence has bigger problems than Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, no shit. This trial, however, is shining a light on a few. Our legal system tends to treat young white men like him as sob stories rather than cautionary tales, especially if they exhibit anything approximating fear or remorse. That has been the truth for everybody, ever, in a court of law. On your first offense at anything, if you show remorse, they'll lighten the sentence. This is not new, and this is not white. The resentment and accusation of melodramatics is due in part to the reasonable presumption that another 17-year-old who isn't white committing the same act wouldn't receive the same sympathy. They wouldn't be able to be caught in false statements. Again, these are all anecdotes and hypotheticals. This is how they operate. It's not in a world of, hey, here's this case, an exact case, in this exact situation, because there's rarely ever cases like that. They have to go on, oh, well, we all know if it were a black man and an Asian woman, That is not evidence. That is your retarded worldview. That is a worldview in which you have to create and manifest bullshit in order to sustain. This is why I reject Black Lives Matter. This is why I reject this fucking new feminist bullshit. Oh, well, as a woman, I have to work twice as hard. What the fuck are you talking about? At what? What do you like? I've had successful women tell me this. And you're like, what are you talking about? Oh, well, you just don't. Yeah, well, you don't fucking get it either. Like, I can do that too. As a white man in this country, I live in fear of being drafted. If the Titanic sank tomorrow, I would have to go down with the ship. Ah! Anecdotes. Fuck off. Rittenhouse's, I love this, 3/4 of the way through the article. Rittenhouse's victims were all white men. Oh, really? You don't say. Making them somewhat of an exception in American jurisprudence. You're right, because white men don't get murdered. White men don't get shot. White men don't die. This is an exception to the rule. These are the same people that will argue that white people commit the same amount of crime on average as black people. And then now it's an exception when a white person shoots white people. Here's the reality. Statistically speaking, people shoot people within their own community. I think it's 95% of black victims of gunshots are by other blacks, and it goes the same for whites, same with Latinos. It's like across the board. Most violence is confined really to the home and then the neighborhood. So the notion that like how many mass shooters have been a white kid and a bunch of white students? So this whole somewhat of an exception. There's no data that supports that white men aren't victims of crime. That's a fucking God. This this guy must have gone to an Ivy League. I don't know. Like this is how you graduate with a fucking degree in Black American Studies or some bullshit. Typically, such prejudgment is safe for people of color and is handed out by law enforcement. Ugh. Again, not statistically true. We have like less than 30 unarmed people getting shot every year by the police. If people of color even survive encounters with law enforcement and live to see the inside of a courtroom for the chance to be wrongfully convicted or disproportionately sentenced, it feels like a small miracle. Oh, the disproportional sentencing. No. How can you be black in America and not be murdered by the police? Like, I love this line of thinking that black people are just getting murdered. Every time they get pulled over, they get murdered. They go to the grocery store, someone thinks they stole something, they're murdered. They go to the gym, someone's like, hey man, I was using the weights and you cut in front of me, and then they fucking shoot them and murder them. This is a delusion. This is a religious delusion. This is a religious delusion. This thought that black people get pulled over and get tickets sometimes. They don't all just get fucking gunned down by the cops. And his whole argument is that, oh, well, they're disproportionately sentenced. That's the only thing he's linked. Everything else, all these other claims, no fucking link. But disproportional sentencing is his one link. Well, we all know they get disproportionately sentenced. There's definitely not economic factors in that or repeat offenders factors in that. No. It's just disproportional sentence because they're black. The self-styled militia, by the way, that's in the Second Amendment, you're allowed to have a militia. The self-styled militia patrolling the city that night were, by several accounts, mostly white men. And the people who were destroying American cities were mostly black men. Get them out of there. Yet another example of the unequally enforced protections of the Second Amendment. It isn't that they didn't have the right to do so. Oh, that's interesting. Though Rittenhouse technically was too young. Among the charges he faces, possessing a dangerous weapon under the 18. By the way, the judge just threw that out yesterday. Because you are allowed to have a rifle at 17. Fuck off. Is it reasonable to think that a black person similarly outfitted with a weapon of war? Oh, it's a weapon of war. Vague. What an interesting vague term. When you're throwing Molotov cocktails at a Circle K, that's a weapon of war. During a civil rights protest, again, not a protest, in Kenosha, would not have been arrested or potentially harmed by police swarming the streets. Doubtful. I love this thought that black people are not allowed to own guns in this country. They're just not allowed. And the cops are just waiting to shoot them. If that person shot someone, would they be able to use the defense that so many police officers use when killing black and brown people? By the way, he capitalizes black and lowercases brown. I love how they just lump Mexicans in with black people because we're all the same. They're all the same. That they feared for their life. Tears on the stand didn't work for the exonerated 5 in New York City back in 1989. Would they work for anyone who looked like us? 1989! 33 years ago. I wasn't even born yet. And he has to point out to the exonerated 5. Ugh. Thank you for citing something from almost 33 years ago. God damn. This speaks too much to the negative reaction to Rittenhouse's display on the stand Wednesday. It isn't simply that a killer cried about his own fear, rather than he took the lives he took. It represented the exercise of entitlement, the enduring perception of the youth of white men and boys who commit illegal acts. Entitlement. Again, this is like when they looked at the Kavanaugh kids, yo, fucking smug face. Covington. I used to call them Kavanaugh kids. Well, whatever. Same. Covington. It's whatever. Racial favoritism remains one of the many cancers afflicting our jurisprudence. By the late summer of 2020, there were fewer children incarcerated in the United States than any other point in the 80s. But then a survey released in March revealed that even during the pandemic, the racial disparity in youth detention grew even wider, with white children in 30 states being released at a 17% higher rate than black youth. Again, they never explain it other than racism. They just go, here's a vague thing, and then they just leave it. And it's like, well, that sounds really complicated. Why don't we dig deeper? Is it because every judge is racist? I doubt it. America's mistreatment of black children is chronic and casual. NYU law professor emerita Kim Taylor Thompson wrote in May, the black person as criminal stereotype, which equates dangerousness with skin color, has demonstrated remarkable resilience over time. It persists even in light of conflicting data, of which I cannot cite. Kyle Rittenhouse can't reverse the stereotype that by himself, but even if he is convicted, it isn't bad if Rittenhouse receives a fair trial. It isn't bad if Rittenhouse receives a fair trial. Everyone should. That's the point. Thank you for taking this much time to say he deserves a fair trial. You're fucking so generous. Thank you. I appreciate you allowing that. However, it's the exploitation of the leeway too often given to young white defendants that makes children, that makes people resentful, and rightfully so. Again, he can't cite any of the data. No data. The manner in which Rittenhouse had been granted grace is astounding. Nope. But not necessarily bad. But Jacob Blake is paralyzed today. Well, what happened there? What happened there? In part because he didn't receive the benefit of the doubt from a police officer that Rittenhouse had received a legion of supporters without even a judge seeming to tip the scales in his favor. If all lives truly mattered, that wouldn't be the case. Well, I was told... Oh, correction. A previous version of this story said that Kyle Rittenhouse brought the gun he used from Illinois. A friend of Rittenhouse is alleged to have purchased the gun for him in Wisconsin, which is legal. Thank you, Jamil. Let's see what Jamil has to say. I'm curious senior correspondent. I'm just curious to know what shithole university he went to. God, always. It's so good. Jamil, you're a racist. You're objectively a racist human being. And if you have any problem with that, fuck off. You can call into my podcast and I can call you racist to your face. Here's some more craziness. I'm just going to play some clips for you from the trial. This is the one of the prosecutors explaining his thoughts.
He just happens to stumble into it. So what does he do that night? Oh, let me tell you all the awful things Joseph Rosenbaum did. He tipped over a porta potty.
Let me start this over.
He just happens to stumble into it. So what does he do that night? Oh, let me tell you all the awful things Joseph Rosenbaum did. He tipped over a porta potty that had no one in it.
I mean, I've gone my entire life without tipping over a porta potty, but teach their own.
He swung a chain. He
swung a chain. I love this guy is listing all the shit that Rosenbaum did wrong. And then he's like, what's the big deal?
A metal garbage dumpster on fire. He swung a chain. He lit a metal garbage dumpster on fire. Oh, and there's this empty wooden flatbed trailer that they pulled out in the middle of the road, and they tipped it over to stop some bearcats, and they lit it on fire.
Hold on. Sorry, I just refreshed there for some dumb reason. I love this line of thinking that all these things are fine. Oh, he just burned a trailer and burned a dumpster and swung a chain and turned over a porta potty? No, what? Who among us?
Stumble into it. So what does he do that night? Oh, let me tell you all the awful things Joseph Rosenbaum did. He tipped over a porta potty that had no one in it. He swung a chain. He lit a metal garbage dumpster on fire. Oh, and there's this empty wooden flatbed trailer that they pulled out in the middle of the road, and they tipped it over to stop some bearcats, and they lit it on fire. Oh, and he said some bad words. He said the N-word.
He said the N-word. Come here, kitty. Come here, N-word. By the way, I love the thought. This is where I'm a libertarian. This prosecutor This prosecutor, if anybody were being charged by him, you would go, he tipped over a porta potty. Someone could have been in there. Someone could have died. He lit a dumpster on fire. That could have spread fire everywhere. He swung a chain, could have killed somebody. He tipped over a trailer and lit it on fire. Oh my God. And he said the N-word. I'd say he deserves 30 years to life for that. The last part, I don't really care about the chain swinging. This is amazing. He said the N-word. I think I got to make that a drop. He said the N-word. Could you imagine? Can you imagine? Anybody else, if it were a school shooter and the guy, it's like, well, he posted on Facebook, he said the N-word. Ah! If it were a celebrity, how about this? If it were a white football player in high school getting an offer from Alabama, oh, he said the N-word. Yeah, fuck out of here. I hope that conservatives have learned the lesson here that prosecutors are not your friend. And most of these motherfuckers belong in jail. This is the other prosecutor. He's a morbidly obese fuck. And I can say that because I'm overweight, but not like this. He's got a neck roll the size of a bakery. And these are prosecutors. These are district attorneys. And I would love for you to think if they were in if they were trying somebody that actually committed a crime, this is how they would talk.
Everybody takes a beating sometimes, right?
Everybody takes a beating sometimes. What? What's going on in Kenosha? Is this everybody takes a beating sometimes? Like, I would love to count how many times this guy took a beating in his life. Based on his man tits, I'm saying 0. Everybody takes a beating sometime.
Everybody takes a beating sometimes, right? Sometimes you get in a scuffle and maybe you do get hurt a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't mean you get to start plugging people with your Full Metal Jacket AR-15 rounds, and no, bullets are not bullets. And we heard testimony about that.
That doesn't even make sense. I don't even understand what that sentence means. Doesn't mean you get to use your Full Metal Jacket on these guys. Yeah, if your life is at risk, you're allowed to kill the person who's trying to kill you. That's reasonable. Can you imagine if this guy were prosecuting a guy? Let's say he was trying a domestic violence case, and the guy, the defense lawyer goes, hey, every woman catches a beating sometimes. Every lady, every gal, every identified woman, every birthing person catches a beating sometimes. We just catch a beating. You may get in a scuffle. That doesn't mean you're allowed to defend yourself. I swear, this is like the worst advertisement for Wisconsin. They should just play this guy explaining, like, come to Kenosha. Everybody catches a beating sometimes.
Everybody takes a beating sometimes, right?
Yeah, right. Everybody takes a beating sometimes.
Sometimes you get in a scuffle and maybe you do get hurt a little bit.
Yeah, maybe you get hurt a little bit. Yeah, you maybe get hurt a little bit. Oh my God, this fucking loser belongs in prison. Think about how many other people that this guy's put in jail. Think about how many. This Vox fucking writer, this Jamil fucker. How about all the other people this asshole has put in jail using this stupid logic?
That doesn't mean you get to start plugging people with your...
You start plugging people. It just started plugging people. That's what happened. These guys are fucking. Here's another one.
And that he had to exhaust all methods. Clearly, if there is provocation, he's guilty. But even outside of provocation, why do you get to immediately just start shooting? As Mr. Binger said, he brought a gun to a fist fight.
He brought a gun to a fist fight.
And he's too cowardly to use his own fist to fight his way out.
Hold on, let's start.
As Mr. Binger said, he brought a gun to a fist fight.
I thought it was a protest. Jamil assured me this was a protest, not a fight. Rittenhouse didn't start fighting people. There would be one thing if Rittenhouse was running around fucking swinging at people and some dude snapped and attacked him. This guy was walking around providing medical aid and had a fire extinguisher and was putting out fires. This logic that you just, oh yeah, in Kenosha, there's fist fights in the street. You just can't have a gun. You can beat the shit out of each other. You just can't have a gun.
And he was too cowardly to use his own fist to fight his way out.
By the way, if you have a gut that is larger than the witness stand itself, you should not be calling anybody a pussy or a coward. I'm just saying, this guy has not done a push-up since he was 17. This is a disgusting human being. And he's calling a 17-year-old a coward. How about this, Mr. fucking prosecutor? Your whole town burned down. Your governor refused to put out the National Guard. Your mayor refused to do a goddamn thing about an act of terrorism in your city, and you're calling the 17-year-old who was doing your job. Rittenhouse was doing your job, and you're calling him a pussy. Fucking brilliant. I love this. I really do. This is great content.
But even outside of provocation, why do you get to immediately just start shooting? As Mr. Binger said, he brought a gun to a fist fight. And he was too cowardly to use his own fist to fight his way out. He has to start shooting. Real men
start fucking fist fighting in Kenosha.
And let's just say, theoretically, that we think that the 12 of you think that it is reasonable to have used force, deadly force in that situation. Shoots once, takes out his hip.
Shoots once, takes out his hip. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he just shot him once. These guys belong in prison. These prosecutors belong in prison. They're the worst. They're disgusting human beings. Wisconsin, get your fucking shit together. Get these fucking losers out of your system. They belong in prison. Here's the thing. It's not just Kyle Rittenhouse. These fucking losers have been doing this. This guy, this fat fuck, he's been an attorney. He's been working for the state of Wisconsin as a prosecutor for almost 16 years. How many innocent people has he put in jail? How many innocent people has he run through the fucking gambit so he can just fucking... I hope this guy chokes on a fucking chicken wing. God damn. His name's James Krause, by the way. Assistant district attorney in Wisconsin. This guy has never met a buffet he didn't make love to. And he's sitting here calling people pussies. Fuck out of here. All right, I'm done with Rittenhouse. They're deliberating today. I hope the fella is released, and I hope the state of Wisconsin pays him out a big amount of money, and I hope that more and more Americans don't tolerate this bullshit from our judicial system. By the way, this is a great argument for anarchism. Anywho, on to COVID. So a lot of you may or may not know, there's Jedediah Bila. She is I knew her because I used to watch Red Eye on Fox News, and it was like a late night. It wasn't sort of the standard Fox show. It was like a late night, comedic, lighthearted look at the news. It's something I always enjoyed, and Jedediah was a regular on there. And then she went on The View because, more money or whatever, when I could tell you that was not going to work out, and it didn't work out. So she moved on, and now she's back on The View explaining, she's selling a book, And so she's back on The View, and just listen to this.
Okay, Jed. So let's discuss. Yeah. Let's address the elephant in the room, because you were supposed to join. You were supposed to join us in the studios weeks ago, but you couldn't because ABC has a very strict policy. You can't get into this building unless you're fully vaccinated. Everybody in this room knows that and is vaccinated. But you made a conscious decision not to get the vaccine. Now the CDC says a person is 10 times less likely to.
By the way, I like that's where the question should stop. This is where Joy Behar. This is where I wonder if Joy Behar is getting paid by Pfizer.
To be hospitalized from COVID and 11 times less likely to die if they've gotten the vaccine. Okay, so why didn't you get it?
Yeah, so my story is a little bit unique. I'll share that first before I get into those CDC numbers. But
remember, we have only a certain amount of time, Jed.
We only have a certain amount of time, Jedediah.
Rome, because you were supposed to join weeks ago, but you couldn't in this building unless you're fully vaccinated. Everybody,
I love that. I'll get into that, but no, we only have so much time, so don't talk too much.
Yeah, so my story is a little bit unique. I'll share that first before I get into those CDC numbers. But
remember, we have only a certain amount of time, Jed, if you want to get everything in.
I have. Right. So I want to let people know why I'm not there. I have a medical exemption to the vaccine that's been written by my infectious disease vaccinated specialist in New York City that's been co-signed by 3 other doctors. I'm not a candidate for this vaccine. I also have Scott.
By the way, that's where the conversation should end. I have 4 fucking doctors writing off that I don't need the vaccine is not right for me. It's like, okay, that's interesting. That should be it.
High, multi-tiered, multifaceted natural immunity, very, very high, that has also been proven, it has been shown, and it is substantiated by letters from these doctors. So for me personally, this vaccine poses a greater risk than a benefit. I'm also not a risk to any of you. I know there's been a lot of debate about that, but I have these doctors who've gone on record with that as well. So my point about all of this is that I am not anti-vax. What I really want is for people to make these decisions for themselves. I want every one of you to sit.
You're Whoopi groaning. God damn. When are they going to put that bitch out to pasture? Just listen to the groan.
For themselves. I want every one of you to sit with your family members, to sit.
Sounds like a fart. Oh, God, I got to play that again.
What I really want is for people to make these decisions for themselves. I want every one of you to sit with your family members.
Whoopi. What the fuck happened to Whoopi Goldberg? Jesus Christ.
Members to sit with your trusted doctors and to say, what is the best decision for me? However, I do oppose mandates. I oppose them on the fact that let's look at the science. This is a vaccine that was created to prevent severity of disease and to prevent hospitalizations. Now, we can have a whole debate on that in itself, but the vaccine does not prevent you from getting COVID and does not prevent you from transmitting.
By the way, that's indisputable. So watch as everyone, but there's another minute 20 on this minute 40 on this clip. And Joy Behar thinks we're crunched for time here. And what Jedediah just said is indisputable. It does not prevent you from getting it. We know this to be true. It does not prevent you from spreading this. We know this to be true. Indisputable.
My goodness.
Reality, and
no,
we have
that's
seen that.
not so. Come on. No, you've been at Fox TV.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Come on.
Not so. Come on. No, you've been at Fox TV too long.
Enjoy.
Oh, you've been at Fox TV too long. Yes, because The View would never lie. The Fox people, by the way, you hired her when she had been at Fox. She was a Fox employee when you hired her. Why do I sound like Jerry?
You don't have to listen to me on that. You don't have to listen to me. You can listen.
These are the brain dead audience. I think Bill Maher's audience is the same group of retards that they just go from one soundstage to the next, and they're swapping between The View in real time.
You don't have to listen to me on
Oh, you don't have to listen. No, don't listen. Hold on. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties here. I love these hens, by the way. They're just fucking hens. They have, these are, but by the way, you're watching The View. What do you do all day that you watch The View? Do you have nothing in your life that you're watching The View? I mean, come on. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm having a problem. This video said, we don't want you to play this. All right, I will refresh the whole thing. Listen, this is great pod, I know.
Let's address the elephant in the...
However, I
love this whole like, well, you're on Fox, so I don't have to listen to you. Oh, good one. Good one. By the way, if you watch any of these networks and you think that one is like, oh, like Fox is the good guy, like, all right, good luck. ABC's the good guy, nope. CNN, nope.
does not prevent you from getting COVID and
This
does
is
not prevent
indisputable,
you from
by the way.
transmitting
Indisputable.
COVID.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we
No,
have
that's
seen that.
not so. Come on.
No,
You've been at Fox
Joy,
TV
you
too
don't have
long.
to, Joy, you don't have to listen to me on that. You don't have to listen to me. You can listen to the director of the CDC. You can look at the CDC's website. That is why masks were reinstated for people who were vaccinated, because they said, and they admitted, they came out and said, for this Delta variant, transmission is going to be a thing.
This is all indisputable. This is all indisputable, and yet the lowly broads at The View have they will dispute. They will not dispute it with facts, but they will dispute.
For vaccinated and unvaccinated people.
You know what, Jed? I love they bring the young one in. They got the young one, and she's got thoughts.
But I am opposed to the mandate 100% on the grounds of science.
People have died from COVID, including...
What? 700 people have died. You're not allowed to talk because people have died. Could you imagine if we did this after 9/11? People always act like 9/11, like, oh, you couldn't say anything. This is worse than that. Could you imagine if somebody was going on and say, you know, we just need to get rid of all the Muslims? And they're like, yeah, that's a good point. And like, hey, man, you know, not all Muslims were responsible for this. And this country is a basis of freedom of religion. And, you know, just because you want to single one group out because of a few bad people, actually, this kind of racist. We go, hey, man, I had a father that died in 9/11. His name was Todd Beamer.
including Manny's in-laws. And we've been friends a long time, but
my in-laws died. Her in-laws died. That's a favor, bitch.
Manny's parents, I just don't understand why you would choose to prioritize your personal freedom over health and safety.
By the way, Jedediah did not cite one argument about freedom. She did not cite not one. This woman just talked completely past what Jedediah said. This is how people who lie. They go right past what you actually say, and then they assign, oh, well, it's not about freedom. By the way, bitch, yes, my freedom is more important than your personal safety. That is a fact. That is not disputable.
Of others, and I just really don't think that we should allow this kind of misinformation on our website.
And she's going to keep talking until you stop talking. So hopefully you'll stop talking and people just stop listening to you because you just need to keep talking. I swear, I hope to God Pfizer is cutting all these broads a check for this. This is amazing.
We've had the United States Surgeon General debunk.
Yes, I heard what he said.
Everything that you've just said, and I just don't think we should.
Jedediah did nothing but cite the CDC. So are these people anti-science or what? Fuck you. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not getting vaccinated because of this kind of behavior. This is why I have no intention of getting a fucking vaccine. Because you cannot tell the truth about it. You are unwilling to tell the truth about it. If you cannot tell the truth about a medical procedure, I am not getting it. This is
let's address the elephant in the room.
Very simple concept.
And I just really don't think that we should allow this kind of misinformation.
We shouldn't allow the misinformation.
On our website. We've had the United States Surgeon General debunk.
Yes, I heard what he said.
Everything that you've just said, and I just
Nope.
don't think we should allow this kind of misinformation on our air. I'm really sorry, my friend.
First of all,
I'm really sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I would say to you as a friend, what I just said to you is I am prioritizing my health, and people talk about the common
over
good.
The health and safety.
Fucking Whoopi rolls in. This woman has added a chin, by the way. Not Jedediah. Whoopi looks like absolute shit. I don't know how they wheel her out there every day.
Over the health and safety
This should sound very familiar to you, Jed. This should sound very familiar to you. We got to go to break. And so I have to say, thanks to
can't listen to that. Shut the fuck up.
Jed's book, Dear Hartley, starting today, and everyone in the audience, you're each going home with a copy of it.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh, God. Whoopi is starting to look like a defensive lineman. I'm worried about her. God. We need to just stop listening to these people. This is how dumb. I don't know if it's dumb. I don't know if it's evil, but it's a little bit of all of it. And it's just so bad. What did she didn't make, none of them made an argument except that's not true. We don't want this kind of misinformation on our show. The View hasn't gotten a fact right in like ever. It is 5 hens clucking. They do not say anything worth a damn. It's why I knew Jedediah wasn't going to last there, because she had spent years making concise arguments on Fox and was much smarter than many of the people there. She is about 40 IQ points higher than at least half the women on this, and probably 60 more than the other half. Sorry, Jeddy. I'm not buying your book because I don't read. But here's the thing, Jed. I always thought you were hot, and I think that helps your argument. So you go ditch this boy toy of yours. I'm not going to raise your child. I have no interest in that, and I can't provide for you guys in any way. But if you feel the need for some sort of carnal, sin-filled night, I'm your guy. Give me a call, and I will fight these hens for you because they are the worst. Finally, I got a great Libs of Tik Tok video. We'll play it. I'll keep it short because I'm heated. And when I'm in heat, guys, it gets scary. And this is a non-binary assistant professor at Old Dominion University and trying to normalize the term MAP. MAP means minor attracted persons. We used to have it used to be called NAMBLA, the National Association of Man-Boy Love, North American Man-Boy Love Association. Here's the thing. It's really hard for me to not think that all these people just want to fuck kids. And here's why.
So much for that question. I use the term minor attracted person, or MAP, in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them.
That's an interesting point because
attracted person or MAP.
Because a pedophile, that term's very harsh, and we don't like the term pedophile. I don't identify as a pedophile, so please call me a minor attracted person. These are better terms.
In the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them. And MAP advocacy groups like Before You Act have advocated for use of the term MAP. They've advocated for it primarily because it's less stigmatizing than other terms like pedophile. A lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that it means a sex offender.
Wait, does it not?
And that isn't true, and it leads to a lot of misconceptions about attractions toward minors. I've definitely heard the idea that you brought up, though, that the use of the term minor attracted person suggests that it's okay to be attracted to children. But using a term that communicates who someone is attracted to doesn't indicate anything about the morality of that attraction.
That's hilarious. It doesn't indicate anything. We're just normalizing it, softening the blow, because pedophile's harsh. Let's call them maps. Because, you know, the pedophiles prefer the term map. Guys, they want to fuck your kids. This is all this is about. This is like, it's so funny because all the people who were opposed to gay marriage were like, well, what's next? They're going to try and fuck kids. And we're like, oh, homophobe. And, well, can't say they're wrong. I would like to say they're wrong, but I can't. So my question is, if you are an LGBTQ ally, if you think I'm a big old homophobic bigot, that's fine. I don't care. You're welcome to. But where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? I think what adults do with each other is nobody's business, so long as they do it in the privacy of their own home. I don't care. Like I started, the only mandate I support is a couple fellas getting some coffee. That's fine. Why are we normalizing pedophilia? Why are we making it where we're sensitizing it? It's like, hey, pedophile's harsh. They prefer the term minor attracted person. What? Could you imagine? It's like, I want to bang high school chicks. I'm a map. No, you're a creep. We've all seen, everybody has seen a girl where you go, oh God, she's hot, but like, is she an adult? Ugh. I have a hard time with that. So then I just shut it down right there. I'm like, my brain, I'm like, on to the next thing. There are plenty of hot women in their mid-20s and even in their mid-30s. And a few of them make it into their 40s. This notion that a group of people, they just get the title of whatever they want. Okay. I mean, not if you fuck kids. And by the way, if you're attracted to kids and you haven't acted on it, I don't think giving you a term or whatever makes that easier. I don't think that makes it better. My suggestion would be to go get a shit ton of therapy and never be around kids. And maybe, just maybe, consider how long you really want to live on this earth. Because quite frankly, if you have that in you, we don't need you. No matter what term you give yourself. Thank you so much for listening to the Seventh Heaven Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Myers. You can follow me on Twitter at Seventh Heaven. You can listen to the pod on fucking all the platforms. Thank you so much for listening today, and enjoy the rest of your day. I'll give you guys another call on Thursday. Thank you. And to the studio audience, I don't know how you guys all get in here every week. It's disturbing. I really should change the locks. Have a great one.